Hey everyone, this is Cate Stillman with YHC Mastery. We're doing a coaching gym. I'm here with Sarah Hutchinson. We've known each other since 2006, so this is pretty fun for us. And Sarah's in her wisdom years, and she is she's a wise woman and she's a leader, and she has questions just around, or coaching around how to navigate a more feminine experience in the next evolution of her coaching and career to guide others. Something like that. How'd I do, Sarah?
I think it's great. I think it's being in the wisdom years. There's the feminine piece and there's the eldering piece that have offered me a new way to structure my work and the way I spend my time.
Yeah. So in terms of outcomes for today, what are you looking for?
I understand about time blocking. I've used it successfully in the past. I've watched the videos. I've done all of the cognitive piece of that, Cate.
Yeah.
As I know so many people listening have. It's that bridge between cognition and implementation. I need a little hand holding. I need some structured coaching because the outcome is I want to feel inspired and have actionable tips when we're done.
Okay. So one thing that when Dr. Cindy Lou Golan, she was one of the first ones that really helped me with the theming, like having themes for days. And this was years ago. This was maybe, 7 years ago.
When I was there. I was on board when Cindy Lou was in your community. I still have my notes from her.
Oh gosh, she's amazing. So the idea of like days having themes that naturally match your energy is really important. So for example, like I used to have Mondays I didn't like because I didn't structure it according to the energy that I naturally had on Mondays. Like same thing with Fridays, same thing. And so when you can look at your week and say like, well, what's the bigger mission? And then how do I feel according to certain days in terms of what needs to get done in that mission? Let's start with that. So what's the bigger mission? Like, why are you why are you coaching at all? Like, why are you doing anything?
Why am I back?
Why are you back? What are you up to?
Because it's my personality structure to make a difference, positive difference in the world. And I have more than enough knowledge and wisdom to do that.
Yeah. So like, it's clearly a calling.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it's not new. It's not going anywhere. Okay. So when you feel into that and you ask yourself like what work needs to get done regularly, right? And when you feel into like what is actually what's the scope of the work? What are the things that like the chunks of stuff that you're like, I need to do that at least weekly?
Audio, video, content, and building the relational field with my audience.
Yep. And then in terms of like and live coaching,
nourishing my team.
Nourishing your what? Sorry? I'm just going to take notes. Nourishing your what?
Yeah. Nourishing my team.
Nourishing your team. Okay.
My team. Yeah. My VA, my own business person, the people who are supporting me as the mouthpiece for the wisdom. It's not all streaming from me, it's streaming through me.
Okay. And then enrollment, are you doing enrollment?
Just starting because I'm going to start in June. So absolutely, Enrollment Conversations. That's part of the field of connectivity. I just started doing yoga walks. We're not back to live yoga classes here yet. So we're doing yoga walks once a week where we're gathering and just walking and talking and finding out what's on people's minds. And from there are springing appointments to do. I don't even know what I'm calling them. Just, I don't
conversations.
Like conversations. What's on your mind? What needs to happen? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for years we had have a conversation, yogahealer.com/conversation, right? Because it's all it really is, right?
People are coming in really non-specifically right now because of the field being so shattered.
Yeah. Okay, good. So when you look at those, even if we just break it down to like AV or content creation, whether it's for marketing or whether it's for your course, we'll just say it's content creation. Then you had the team bucket, and then you had the enrollment conversation bucket, and then eventually you'll have the live coaching bucket.
Yeah. That's the
So
easy
if you
part.
just think about like your natural energy in the different days of the week. So I, thanks to Cindy Lou, just started to, years ago, just like really look at like, what do I feel like doing when, and can I time block that for then so that I'm not working against myself? So if we just go through each of these buckets, AV, team, enrollment, and live coaching, and we have focus time. Some things require more focus. Some things are more buffer type activities. Some things are like a bit of both. Like with team, sometimes we do things that actually look a lot more like a group coaching session, but it's with my team rather than with my group. If you just think through these things, like let's just start with one. Which bucket do you want to start with? Enrollment,
Let's start with
team, enrollment. Okay, great. So what time of day is it most natural for you to have these conversations where you feel like you're in a flow, or that it's expansive, or that you're more just in that connectivity realm?
Certainly in the, when I first come into work, I enter a linear space so that I have a map for that, for a task or for the day. So that's my list time. That's my calendar check time. So that's the energy when I first enter into walk through the portal of it's time to work.
Okay.
I go through a linear check-in.
Okay.
From there, it's interesting you're saying this, because during the linear check-in, I know that I'm having an energetic experience of what things on the list are either calling to me or backing away. That can be a moment of confusion. And I think everybody can relate to that. That can be a moment of confusion because we might get pulled into that shadow place of, oh, I don't want to do that thing. Therefore, I have to push for it. So here's this delicate balance you're suggesting about how to structure it so it's not a tackling and we don't get wrapped up in resistance.
Yeah. So it's like there's a few ways to look at that particularly, but what I'm trying to back out to is this, is like, say you're going to have 4, we'll call them conversations, enrollment conversations a week. Let's just say you're going to have 4 a week. Like, when is the most natural time for you to have those? Like, when do you
mid-morning,
think you're most in the mood?
10 to, it has a lot to do with my fasting windows, 10 to 1.
Okay, great. So if it's 10 to 1, and then like what day of the week?
Tuesdays.
Great. So then that would be a time block.
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Okay, great. So then you would just block that into your calendars. Like Tuesdays and Thursdays are for enrollment conversations. What this does is it gives you more structure too, so you know when you're available and when you're not. And you probably have an online scheduling tool. You can make, whatever kind of buffer times you want in there. And then if you have a target of like, I want to have X number of these a week, then, and it's really figuring out what that is for you. I like to have at least 4 a week, personally. And I don't need more than that either. Like 4 is great. 3 is fine. 5's a lot, right? Like, so I'm like 4, and so I know that, my team knows that. If there's only 2 on my calendar, we're going to make an effort to add 2 more. We'll make some sort of effort to reach out and get a couple more people on my calendar. I love enrollment conversations because of finding out, to me, it really goes into that AV content creation. Like, I really find out what keeps people apart from getting the support that they need. And I find that's really fascinating because people like you and I mean, we started investing. So you were an RN, and then you were a nurse midwife, and a yoga teacher and a yoga community builder, and you did all sorts, right?
Um,
Right?
yeah.
So like you
Yeah,
didn't have a hesitation to invest in your wellness skills.
Never. And I've always been looking for the cohesion that is of the potentiality that exists every time I entered into a particular realm of facilitation, clinical practice. There was always more. It's our personality structures, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So in those enrollment conversations, they're super curious and they're energizing because you get insight into like what keeps people stuck or holding themselves back. And so it's like less about to me about like converting in sales and more like really curious about like, because you're aging really differently than your peers, right? And you get to enjoy the benefits of that every day.
Yeah.
And that's why you advocate for what you're doing. Okay, good. So now we have a time block for enrollment conversations. Now let's look at when you're going to want to do live coaching with your group.
Yeah. My experience with doing live coaching in the past leads me to choose a midweek, but I'm not sure what time of the day. That's always tricky, as you know. People in different time zones, people in different times of the parts of the world.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
So
so
my
let's look at
intention
that.
is to do a live coaching. Right now, it feels like Wednesday evening, but it's going to depend on how many of my members are working traditional hours. My
Okay.
demographic is distinct. And then office hours, Cate, twice a month to allow people to come in for laser coaching, to come in for makeup, or to just touch base.
Yeah, I like that.
Those
So I would even, yeah, go ahead.
and those right now feel like a Sunday, but then I worry about protecting my weekend
Yeah, I would
because
not.
that's when my kids
I
are
would
going.
not. I would not do them on Sundays. No.
Talk to me. Give me
So
your wisdom
what
about
I would do
scheduling.
is I would do like a lunch hour for the office hours. And so say you said Wednesday. I think Wednesday's great. So like you could just have everything on Wednesdays. And the benefit of this, so say office hours and coaching sessions, and they could be at different times. So the coaching sessions could be in the evening, as long as you're not taking Europeans because they won't work for them, or they can rotate. So that's what we do. And you
Yeah.
can look at my Body Thrive call schedule to see
Yeah.
how we rotate with all time zones. And then I would have the office hours I would have it like bring your lunch. Like, let's do lunch together. So that it's kind of informal and it seems more of like a drop in. And then what happens when you say, okay, well, Wednesday is coaching day, then you're in the mood for it. Like you'll wake up and you'll be, it's like the routine will get settled. And that's what these time block days can really help with is like, okay, Tuesdays, I'm doing enrollment sessions. Wednesdays, I'm coaching. And so even if it's only, a part-time gig, like 3 hours a day, great.
Yeah. No, I teach us an asana class on Wednesday morning, which is an energy raiser. So Wednesdays have a good flow. Yeah.
Great. And you're in
Yeah,
teaching mode.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are my block days. Fridays, I take care of a grandchild.
Oh, yay. Okay. So now let's go to content creation and team. How often do you want to be touching base with your team?
Well, that because it's redeveloping, I'm just bringing a new person on. Right
Okay.
now, it's got to be weekly.
Yep. And
to incorporate her, et cetera. So I see we're coming into a real forming. Hopefully there won't be too much storming. We're coming into forming
yeah.
right now. So that's got to be a weekly thing. It can be a touch-in because we're
Okay.
using Asana, so we hear from each other. But as far as doing this,
Yeah.
and feeling and opening it up and having chai together, that's what we do weekly right now.
Okay. And then what day is it? Is it something you want to do on that Tuesday before you do your enrollment conversations?
Yeah, let's try that.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a
And so,
standing team meeting on 9 o'clock Tuesdays. So we'll just.
so you keep that. Yeah, great. And then Thursdays, in that time block, I would do the AV content creation, which should seem really easy after coaching on Wednesdays. Like you'll have ideas and, there's a natural flow of like talking to new people on Tuesday and you're like, oh, write down the FAQs or like write down the objections, right? Because that's what you'll want to create content around. So objections, we create content around for marketing. FAQs, we create content around for course creation. So that'll work on both of those.
Say that again for me. Just say that again for me. Please.
Yeah, so like objections, like why some people don't invest in themselves is really fascinating, right? And you'll find out so much about the nuances of that on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
And then you keep your list of questions so that then on Thursdays, or put them in Asana, so then like, oh, I need to make a 5-minute video on how investing at age 70 is smart for age 80, something like that, right? How developing growth-oriented friendships in your 70s that are healthy, how that, whatever that is, right? So when at the end of the day, Tuesday after your conversations, what I would do is put a few of those, like this is what I'm going to create content for on Thursday, assign yourself those tasks. The other thing I do when I assign tasks to myself is I put a time estimate in. So if I'm going to make a 5-minute video, but it's going to take me 10 minutes to prep for the 5-minute video, then I'll just in Asana or in my project management tool on that task, I'll say 15 minutes. So that makes me just better at estimating, right? So I have to do a bunch of videos for allergies because we're going to help people with allergies. It's one of those first signs of chronic inflammation, and it hits kids hard and it hits people in different ways. And there's a lot of misrepresentation in the mainstream allopathic medical marketplace around what allergies mean. So I'm going to time block probably a good 2 hours to create 4 or 5-minute videos, just because I want to make sure I get it right so I don't have to do it again for another few years. So like do them intentionally, figure out the SEO, figure out, what exactly, if I need to make a couple slides in there that I don't already have, so I have some time to do that with complete focus. And then for you, say you're doing that and you're scheduling that on Thursday, you would schedule that time block, and then in your project management tool, you would let yourself know exactly what your output is going to be from that. What are your deliverables to yourself?
Tell me
and
about
the more
you talked about objections. I just wanted to capture again. You talked about objections, which we just talked about, and then you talked about FAQ and how you integrate. What you're hearing in FAQ.
Yeah. So say, what's so interesting with like people being overwhelmed is they often an objection is like, well, I'm too busy to start something. Right. And it's like, how are you ever going to solve that one if what you're starting is actually the solution and you're always too busy to actually get to the solution, right? And this is so typical, and we're going to see way more of this because adrenaline addiction's getting worse, attention span's shortening, people are more overwhelmed, inflation somewhere between 9% and 18% right now. So it's like it's really going to hurt people.
Really VUCA.
It's really VUCA. It's really fast too, I think.
Yeah.
So it's like, given that, it's like, oh, how can I help this person think about this in a way that would enable them to actually get to the end result that they want? And so then you think of maybe a title, and you can actually time block this for after you do your enrollment sessions, your conversations, is to time block 20 minutes to think about the questions people ask and to think about what keeps them from getting the result that they want. And then have your project management tool open and schedule yourself to like create very specific videos, and maybe with some text so that you could post it in social and the text is already written, because it's often easier to write the text, then shoot the video, and then it's done rather than shoot the video and then go back and write the text, because writing organizes your thoughts more, and then when you speak, you're speaking from your organized thoughts. And then it's just way easier to then post it because you already have it written and you have the video. So then it's easier to hand off to your team.
And it's easier for the attention span desert to receive the moisture.
Yeah, totally. And then the FAQs, say you're coaching or say you're teaching a yoga class on Wednesday morning and someone has a question about their feet, right? And they're losing their balance and you said something in yoga class and they had a question after class about their feet. So that's like an FAQ, right? You have all this yoga therapeutics training. You know what happens to older people and their feet and neuropathy and how people actually end up breaking their hip has everything to do with how they're using their feet. And so you're like, I'm going to create a content video for my course members on how to use your feet, and it's going to be 15 minutes. So then you would schedule that on Thursday too, because it doesn't matter if you're doing an objection video or an FAQ video, it's falling under that AV time slot, that content creation time slot. And you might use it for marketing, or you might use it in courses, or you might use it in both. We use a lot of our stuff in both. Same piece of content.
So it's a call and response all the time with the members as to what they are speaking into. We're listening really skillfully, capturing it, and responding.
Yeah. And sometimes we're responding asynchronistically, like, oh, I'll shoot a 10-minute video for you. So say this woman comes up to you after class and you're like, oh, you're the third person to ask me about feet lately. I'm going to shoot a video and then I'll answer your question in that video. So you don't even have to respond in real time. You can take time and respond the way that you've now responded to that question for the next 3 years.
You're not the only one asking me this question, so I'll make a video. You can watch it.
Yeah. And then you can share it with your friends. And then if they have questions about their feet, they can schedule a live conversation with me. And now you have someone scheduling on Tuesday that has questions about their feet.
Yeah. Right now it's all about allergies, so I want to see your videos.
Oh my gosh, right?
We're doing these yoga walks.
What are their questions? So this will help me.
Well, I've had people can't come if it's windy because their allergies are too intense to go on a walk. If it's not windy, I'll come.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
The pollen. They're pollens.
The pollen. And the other piece that I hear from people is I've always had these allergies and I don't see any way around it. So I take Zyrtec and I just pray.
Yeah.
So there's a certain resignation.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not, let's go to urine therapy for a minute. I'm going to head you off with the pass on this one. Urine therapy. I love it. I'm all about it. And yet I need to lubricate my community in a particular way before it comes in. And it'll probably come in as a standalone. I may bring Megan in to do it, right?
Yeah.
As a standalone. So
I'll show you too.
Are around. I'm debilitated. I've always had them. Yeah, I want to see this.
Yeah. So what we do, right, is like let me make this bigger. All right. So this is, there's a few things. I'll back up. So around content, this is pillar content. So if we look at Yoga Healer, there's 3 main pillars that hold up Yoga Healer, thrive in your body and your life: chronic inflammation, symptoms, disease, and healing. So allergies falls under here. In terms of, both symptomology, but also in terms of disease and what's happening with the immune system. So that's all in chronic inflammation is immune. Then Ayurveda and the body type. So how body type intersects with allergies is one of our themes in the course, but there's no SEO on it. So people aren't searching for that, but it's just part of our answer. And then daily habits. And this is where we have intermittent fasting, urine therapy, and how to change bad habits. So then over here for the allergy stuff, we start to look at what are people actually searching for, and then what should our new content be around it. So what we found, there's a few buckets that people are searching: seasonal allergies, eye allergies, food allergies, natural relief, fast relief, and how to prevent. And then these were the top search terms over here on the way left. So what this gets, because I live in my own world big time. And what I think people are searching for has everything to do with how my brain works and doesn't actually have anything to do with what people are searching for. So once we intersect what people are searching for, we break it into the buckets of like, what content do we have? What content do we not have? And then we create new content titles. This is telling me where we should start looking. So one of the things we'll do a Facebook Live on is what is the best allergy medicine? Drugs versus natural, Claritin versus Zyrtec versus Benadryl versus natural remedies. So there's a lot of keywords in there, like stuff we know people are looking for. And then I'll create either a little promo video that'll announce the Facebook Live or a little content video based on that. And the same thing with these other topics. Like I really want to do this one on asthma and allergy symptom relief for kids, mostly because once I found out that 30% of the American youth is on pharmaceuticals and started looking into what are the pharmaceuticals, like how are we getting kids hooked on drugs, where's Nancy Reagan when you need her, early on, it turns out that asthma and allergies are a huge, huge category for kids. So that's part of like where personal mission intersects with that. And then I'll take this and I'll say, and you can use a tool like this in Google. There's a plugin here. It's this keyword everywhere plugin, and it costs like $10 for 1 million searches. So if I type in allergy and asthma and kids, I can see the search volume. And then I can start to see over here, this is the plugin. This is keywords anywhere or everywhere, keywords everywhere. And this is telling me how many people are searching for what. So asthma in children, 2,900 people in the US are searching a month. You can set it to US or global or whatever country you want. So this is showing me that that's not that high. So if we take off kids and we just put in allergy and asthma together, we're going to get some different numbers. And that can help me, again, target. So here we're seeing 27,000 people are looking up this a month, as opposed to when we added kids there was only 2,700 a month. So this has much higher search volume, just around allergies and asthma. So I can mention kids in it, but my numbers are going to really drop compared to just allergies and asthma. So that's one way that we do it, is we just look at what are people searching. What I like too is the related searches that Google lists below. This tells me, allergy, asthma, and immunology. Oh, that's a good little subtopic for under that video. Allergy-induced asthma symptoms adult, so I could do one video and I could talk to both adults and to children. And then when I post it, I could have both of those as say it was a blog post and a video. I could have those as like subheaders, and then the Google search engine would pick it up.
So we look at this is how you get out of your own perception.
Yes.
And get into the what the public is actually asking for.
Yeah. What are people searching for? Mm-hmm. Exactly. And there's also, for those who are like really serious about this content creation for Google, there's SEMrush, which is another one. But I find just this keywords everywhere is often enough just to kind of get me more in the ballpark. Yeah. So again, when I'm like thinking about these issues, I never would create on my own, I would never think of creating a video or doing a Facebook Live on Claritin and Zyrtec. Yeah. But I actually have a lot to say about it because I was on Claritin as a kid. I was on Tavist, and then I think they switched to Claritin or got bought out by them. And I'm like, I remember this. I remember the feeling of the antihistamine. Like I can, when I would do something more on, and actually how to get rid of pollen allergies came up. And that really fits with a lot of stuff in terms of like the sinuses and how the sinus functions that I've already written about in Wild Habits, where I can borrow some of those slides and borrow some of that text, but I can put it under how to get rid of pollen allergies, because so they're not searching for wind, they're searching for pollen. Okay.
Right.
I wouldn't know that unless I looked it up.
Right.
All right, so time blocking, just to sum up, you've got Tuesdays where you're meeting with your team and you're doing your conversations. You've got Wednesday where you're teaching and coaching. And then you've got Thursday where you're plugging in your content creation based on what you decided to do on, either prior or what new ideas came in on Tuesday from objections or what people are super excited about starting your course or the FAQs or things that you want to include in your content library. How's that feel?
Good, great. I'll re-listen, obviously, to pick up the next layer because my mind is working with all of this. It sounds doable, and I just want to go back to the beginning with what you're speaking into about the theme of the days to match your energy.
Yeah.
I just think, again, that comes into this less head banging.
Yeah.
Less
That's why it's like, if you don't want to coach on Sunday, don't coach on Sunday.
Model, push through.
Yeah.
But still getting things done. To me, this is such an emergent conversation. The structure of things is masculine, it's yang, it's Shiva, right? We need structure, but how we move in the structure is what you've coached me on today. Yep.
Structure for flow. Totally. Yeah. And you'll find that things gain momentum over time. Like we decided probably 7 years ago that coaching day was Thursday and it hasn't changed. So everyone in the community knows, like my family knows, like everybody gets that. Wednesdays for me are a focus day. Fridays for me are either a free day or free and I can use it for focus if I want, but there's nothing, and just getting it. On Mondays and Tuesdays, I have buffer. So I know I'm going to have a lot of meetings, going to have a lot of quick conversations, and the more you get into that, like your energy that day will match what's on the plate. Yeah. The other thing I did want to speak to is the resistance, because in Atomic Habits, James Clear, he has this, it's not a novel idea, but he writes about it really well. And that's like, just set a 2-minute timer, because when you start doing something, like say you're like, I'm not in the mood to record videos. Say I'm not in the mood to figure out the next allergy videos. If I just set a timer for 2 minutes to do whatever research I need to do on how to get rid of pollen allergies for 2 minutes and start my slide deck and that, after 2 minutes, because you can do anything for 2 minutes, but after 2 minutes, my awareness will be invested in the activity. So the hurdle for most people is the hurdle to start. It's not the hurdle to continue what they've started. So the resistance, it's just, you're just like, okay, 2 minutes. I'll do that. And then I'll see. And by then you're usually in it.
The nervous system. You're working with the nervous system in a clever and gentle way.
Yeah, totally. Awesome. Well, I'm excited for your future members to have you as a leader, Sarah Hutchinson.
Yeah, the wisdom years, baby. Bring it on. Bring it all on.
Bring it all on. I feel like we've got to show everyone the Sacred Hags Oracle. I'm going to have her on the podcast at some point. There it is on the screen. Yeah. Sacred Hags, visionary guidance for dreamers, witches, and wild hearts. That's how Sarah and I started our conversation before we hit record. Okay, awesome. Peace out. Good luck. I'll see you on YHC calls.